Hi, this is a question with regard to fibroids. What causes fibroids and what can we do about them? Fibroids basically are deposits or accumulation of dead proteins, and I wholeheartedly recommend that we avoid eating cadaver foods that, if they're not properly digested, can lead to accumulation of proteins in various parts of the body. What happens if we eat a cadaver, like chicken, fish, or meat? What happens is that we cannot digest the entire piece of meat, chicken, or fish, only a fraction of it. The reason for that is because the amount of hydrochloric acid in our stomach is not concentrated enough to digest the entire piece. So if you eat a steak, you may digest only 15 up to 20% of that piece of meat, and the rest of it will remain undigested. And the heating of the meat, whatever method you use, will denature the proteins. That means rip apart the molecular structure that bonds the amino acids to form those proteins together, and it destroys the three-dimensional structure of proteins. So here you have a huge number of dismembered protein chains that are bits and pieces of protein fragments that somehow make their way into the bloodstream. They are absorbed, and there's some research to show that normally only amino acids can be absorbed, but these denatured proteins also get absorbed. And that is a major problem for the body, because we cannot really utilize them. One way to deal with them is to assimilate or accumulate these protein fragments in what is known as the basal membranes of the blood vessel wall. And the basal membrane has the capacity to accumulate up to 8 times its normal thickness and gather or collect these proteins there. And this stiffens the blood vessel. It makes it like dead almost, and it becomes like fibroid tissue. If that happens in the uterus, for example, you can develop fibroid tissue there. If it happens in the spleen, you can develop fibroid tissue. If it happens in the liver, then the liver is gathering fibroid tissue. So it doesn't matter where it is. It could be the breasts, it could be even in the brain. So wherever these protein fragments make their way through into the system, that's when you start collecting dead proteins in the blood vessel wall, and then eventually in other parts as well. Once there's a saturation point reached in the blood vessels, it will also accumulate in the fluid that surrounds the cells, and then it can spread almost like wildfire. So I suggest that you're avoiding those kinds of foods that can trigger that, and also there's another effect that happens when you eat these kinds of foods. The undigested proteins, the 90% or 80% of the meat, chicken, fish that have not been digested will be broken down into waste matter. It's called putrefaction, and the toxins that these bacteria produce will be absorbed by the lymphatic system, particularly the part of the lymph system in the belly button area called cisterna chili, and that will eventually create a blockage, congestion in that part of the lymph system. And that cisterna chili vessel has like little roots that go down into the uterus, ovaries, the legs, and they are responsible for taking up any metabolic waste products and dead cell material that is part of the natural turnover of cells. you have to understand that the body is turning over 30 billion cells per day, and that's a huge amount of dead protein that has to be removed on a day-to-day basis. If your lymph vessel system is getting congested in the belly button area, in the cisterna chili vessel, you'll find an illustration in my book, Timeless Secrets of Health and Rejuvenation. Once that congestion has been there for a considerable amount of time, you're talking about weeks and months or years, then the ability of the uterus, for example, to get rid of the turned over cells will not be there anymore, and these dead cell materials will accumulate. And so the body will start developing extra tissues in order to accommodate these waste products. So when these things have occurred, definitely recommend to change your diet, lifestyle, eating habits so that your digestive functions are improving. Liver flushes, of course, will help to reduce the lymph congestion simply by allowing your body to digest food more effectively, and you make less waste products, which could once again cause lymph congestion. So by taking care of these basic things, uterine problems, fibroids should diminish over time. The body uses proteolytic enzymes to do that. Once the congestion has subsided, then the body can once again digest these dead protein structures, fibroids, and remove them naturally. If you want to support the body in doing that, sometimes it helps to take a proteolytic enzyme like Seasprose, Seasprose, which is known to be one of the most effective proteolytic enzymes to deal with fibroids and other problems. But I'm always on the caution. I'm always in favor of allowing the body to do the job itself rather than be doing the job for it, because there's a very fine, delicate balance called homeostasis, and you don't want to introduce something into the body too long or too much, because then the body will produce less of the same substance, or in this case enzyme, proteolytic enzyme. It's always best to stimulate the body's own enzymes rather than just replacing them with supplementation. So I hope this gives you some ideas about fibroid tissues and what you can do